Welcome back to Dyslexia Decoded with Teacher Maggie. If, oh, I'm on the wrong part. Hey there. Welcome back to Dyslexia Decoded with Teacher Maggie. I'm your host, Maggie, and today we're talking about a truth that's hard to swallow, but can be life-changing. Imperfection isn't just okay, it's necessary. I'll share how my first podcast, though far from perfect, achieved exactly what it needed to. And we'll dive into a story about a famous dyslexic that turned failure into greatness. Let's get started. So, I had promised myself that I was going to start a podcast for my 43rd birthday. And this was in September. It's now January, and I didn't like my sound. I had, when researching podcast, had saw that, it's better to do video and audio together because then you have these, you know, you can share on multiple platforms, more people will see you. I'm like, this is the thing I have to do. Well, I wasn't loving the videos I was making, and I kept recording and re-recording and re-recording, and I felt like they just got more and more scripted and less authentic to me. And I hadn't liked anything. So I had not posted anything. And here we are in January, and I had not started a podcast, which was a dream. It was an itch. I had the podcast itch. And when I, as a dyslexic, have an itch to do something, I like have to do it. And it was gonna nag me and weigh on my conscience until I got it done. And then, so a few days ago, I was like, that is it. I just went and I just posted my very first recording, which I hadn't even had a mic yet. So I think the sound was really bad. But I actually was listening to podcasts the other day, and I was listening to one I really liked, and the sound wasn't like perfect, like I was looking for to make my sound. So I was like, I'm just going to post my podcast. And, I don't even know if anyone will ever hear it, but they had a chance to get to know me and my story, and hopefully I can someday, like, even if I encourage one person, that would totally be worth my time. And sometimes it's just the therapy of getting things off of my chest and being able to daydream what my next podcast is going to be in my free time is such a joy for me. So I'm really excited to be able to move forward now. I posted it. It is what it is. It wasn't perfect, but I love how much we can learn in our imperfection. I have a chance to, help people through my vulnerability. And, anytime you start something new, chances are it's not going to be perfect. The expectation should not be perfection. I teach students, and when I'm teaching a 5-year-old how to write, their first time they write their name, it's not perfect. And if it was, that would be weird. That would be bizarre. It would be the exception. It's messy for a long time. And anything new we start, you should expect to be messy for a long time. And, hopefully my podcasts aren't messy for too long. But for now, I'm okay with where I'm at. And I'm going to share me and my thoughts and just be authentic with you. And hopefully things improve over time, and hopefully you enjoy listening and get something out of these moments together. So I want to share about Thomas Edison. This is a really, really famous story. So you may have heard it in different versions of it. I at one point read a biography about him with one of my tutoring students. And I just love learning from other dyslexics. Of course, he was alive at a time when dyslexia wasn't like openly diagnosed, but he, um, you know, shows all of the signs, and it's pretty widely accepted that Thomas Edison was dyslexic. Um, he was famously told by his teachers that he was too stupid to learn. You may have heard there was a email going around even back when email stories and stuff were spreading through your AOL inbox, of the mother who got a letter from the teacher saying that, their student was not smart enough to learn and they should pull him out of school and, just teach him how to survive. And then the little boys asks his mom, well, what did the letter say? And his mom said, oh, well, the teacher wrote and said that you're too smart for the school and that they can't teach you because, you're beyond their abilities. And she taught him with that mindset that, letting him believe that he was too good, too smart for the teachers to handle, rather than what the letter really said. I don't know if the letter thinks true, but it is a beautiful story. Going through life, he was fired from many jobs because he didn't fit the mold. But he was also a problem solver. I remember a story in the book I read that in his town, when he was like a 10-year-old boy, the house was on fire and the volunteer fire department was trying to put it out. But like something was wrong with the pump to get water from the pond to the house. And at 10 years old, he went in and he solved the problem. And he was able to make a pump and save the family home. And he was just a child. And as dyslexics, we do that. We see a problem and it's almost like we have to solve it. We have to solve the problem. The way our brain is wired is that, if we see something that needs done, that needs fixing, we want to fix it. We're going to start trying solution after solution until we find a way. And that's what he did. And he solved the problem that day. Very famously, he invented the light bulb. And they say he failed over 1,000 times before successfully inventing the light bulb. And his response? I have not failed. I have found 1,000 ways that a light bulb won't work, or I found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And that attitude, that persistence, that perseverance, this is something I hang on to in my life. And I failed and I failed and I failed at so many things, but I I go forward. I go forward with positivity and excitement for the adventure without any hindrance of failure that I've experienced. So Edison's persistence reminds us that imperfection and failure aren't obstacles, they're stepping stones. So my first podcast episode, it wasn't perfect, but here's what it accomplished. I introduced me to my hopeful potential audience. It showed that I'm human, just like you, and it laid the foundation for growth before, well, and it laid the foundation for growth, both for me as a podcaster and for the connection that I'm hoping to build with you, my community. So, perfectionism would have kept me from sharing that moment and would have missed a chance to connect with you. So, I think together we can come together and just redefine success. It's not about being polished or perfect, it's about being our authentic self. It's identifying like this is the best I can do right now and I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to hide it. When I student doesn't have to hide their messy handwriting or their bad spelling. Let it be just part of who they are. I get so much anxiety as a dyslexic filling out like forms. I've literally spelt my own kids' names wrong at forms at the doctor's office just because all of the writing and the letters and the print on that page and having to write things in and know what goes where, it gives me so much anxiety. When I'm with my husband, he does it for me. But I don't have to hide. If I spell one of my own kids' names wrong or something else on the forum that's not right, I let people know I'm dyslexic and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm okay with that. And I hope you are too. So, when you want to start something new, you might not feel good enough, but start anyway. It could be a podcast, a project, it could be embarking on a personal goal. Embrace the messiness that comes in the beginning of anything. It's worth it. It is worth it. And it's the only way to get to the perfection that you long for, or to accomplish the task that you want to do, is allow your student to be messy, allow their reading in the beginning to be choppy and painful, and don't lose patience. Be kind and gentle and encouraging and positive for every correct phoneme, for every sound. It really is the secret, being patient and gentle and not giving up and not allowing your child to give up. I've seen or even experienced sometimes myself with my own children that Sometimes before the student gives up, the parents get really frustrated. Like, what do you mean? We have gone over this word 500 times. What do you mean you can't read the word be or but? And it's, and then that's when the student feels the heaviness of their failure. So, as challenging as it can be, being patient and kind in those beginnings, in that messiness with your child, learning to read or learning to do something new. Um, and so, like Edison, we'll let every misstep teach us something valuable. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If my first podcast taught me anything, it's that imperfection is not the enemy. It's the start of something amazing. So, what's one imperfect thing that you'll start today? Let me know. I'd love to hear about it. This is why I'm doing this. I want to connect with you. And as always, keep on growing and learning together. You've been listening to Dyslexia Decoded with Teacher Maggie. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave a review, or reach out. I'd love to hear your story. See you next time.